Right, here we go.
Oh, hang on. Go.
Hello and welcome to the AVForums Gaming Podcast for the month of September. I am, of course, Steve Hill, and joining me this month is Mark. Hello, Mark.
Hello, Steve.
How have you been?
Fine, thank you very much.
That weekly podcast is slowly becoming all about you. I tune in every week just for you.
Thank you very much, Steve. Yes, it is.
It's like you're standing up to the bigger boys. I love it.
Yeah, well, someone's got to represent the gaming crew there.
Also joining me is, of course, Leon Matthews. Hello, Leon.
71 days to go. I'm kind of disappointed no one's created a countdown thread in the Xbox One forum. What's going on?
Very good point.
What's going on, guys? We're slipping.
I'm sure there'll be one soon. Pictures of buses and all kinds of
women, probably.
Random numbers.
There we go.
That's true. Yeah. We welcome back Steve. Hello, Steve.
Good evening.
You enjoying the summer holidays?
Every time,
That's
man.
cruel.
Yep, just shortly. I started school again this week.
Just to clarify, we asked Steve off air just how old he actually was, and you said,
I am in fact 22.
in case any listeners actually did think you were a local paper boy.
They probably still think I'm lying anyway, so...
You can vote and everything.
I can. Now.
Of course, we welcome back Ben. Hello, Ben.
Hi there, Steve. How are you?
I'm very good. I'm really looking forward to talking about Outlast.
No, mate.
I'm really looking forward to talking about it anyway. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Jumping straight into it, fellas. Hardware news. Mark, Nintendo, every month they give us something to laugh at. You can really count on them, can't you?
We can stick the boot in again.
I'll leave this to someone else. No, I'll leave it to someone else.
Oh, come on.
Don't be like
Don't be a
that.
party pooper.
I've already discussed it on the weekly podcast. I want to hear your opinions.
Should we all laugh at once?
It's like a joke. It's like if someone was pitching, hey, guys, how about the 2DS, right?
It's just basically the DS.
All right, look, I'll try and say something positive. When I first heard about it, I hadn't actually... So it just kind of popped up. So I don't know about you guys. I had no idea it was coming, nothing. It just came out of the blue. And I thought, hold on, something that plays the old DS games and the 3DS games doesn't have 3D. I don't care about 3D. You know what? That actually sounds all right. And I was just kind of scanning through my timeline on Twitter. I thought, yeah, this sounds all right. I saw a picture. I nearly spat my tea out. What are they thinking? Have you seen the thing?
It looks just like something you get out of a kid's meal at McDonald's.
But that's the thing, though, isn't it? I mean, everything you hear about this is that classic phrase, it's not for us. You know, it comes out on the same day as Pokemon comes out. It's a tablet design. It's meant to be for kids. It's cheaper, so if you've got more than one kid, you can buy them, and it's not as much money. So, you know, I mean, it's one of those cases where it's like, if you don't want it, you don't have to buy it. The 3DS still exists. So, you know, whatever, Nintendo, you do your thing.
I found a picture of it. Why the hate? I mean, it is well boring.
But it's design regression. That's what I think people ultimately hate, which is as soon as you go to 3DS and then you go back to 2DS, it's like saying, well, we screwed up on the 3D aspect. But not only that, we're going to take the clamshell design, which was it just makes so much sense for a portable, and we're going to just scale it back and create this kind of Fisher Price, tablet for kids or something. It just looks awful.
But I don't disagree with anything you've just said, but I think the reason I'm indifferent is because I'm not surprised. I mean, when did Nintendo ever put something aesthetically beautiful out there?
Oh, how can you say that? How can you... I can't even believe that you went there. No, the Game Boy Advance SP is the greatest handheld ever created as far as I'm concerned.
I've got one in this drawer right here. Hold on, I'm gonna remind myself of what
Is that the really small one?
Yeah, it's the square one.
So it's
Yeah.
blue. So I've got a sort
Clamshell.
of blue. Were they all the same colour? Because mine's kind of in a sort of dark blue.
Tell me more about this drawer. What else is in there?
Shall I tell you? You want to know what's in the drawer? I've got an original EPC, the 701, the first one. You know, the tiny little PC. I've got this is true. I've got a ruler with a calculator on it. I've got some memory. I've got a wireless keyboard. I've got a DS. I've got a PS Vita AR play cards that have never been out of the box.
Is it where handhelds go to die?
Yeah, more or less, actually. I've got a notepad. Oh, no, I've got not just any notepad, actually. It's a replica Death Note for anyone who's into anime. I've got some PSP games. I've got an iPhone charger. I've got one of those headphone splitters so you can, sit there and... card reader for Barclays, in case I want to transfer money to someone. I've got some papers. I've got a charger. That looks like a charger, but I'm not sure. I've got a Pandora battery for a PSP. I've got a rolled up piece of paper that one of my girls gave me that's apparently a telescope, but it's not functional.
Take it back, not fit for purpose.
I'll stop there. There's loads of crap in a drawer. Yeah, it's a pretty special drawer.
You got room in there for a 2DS.
I've actually got I've got 4 other drawers I can save for another day. Yeah.
So the 2DS, massively boring, uninteresting, uninspiring,
And it will sell.
Yeah, some
You
mug
think
will
so,
buy it.
really?
Yeah.
Of course it will. Reduced
you buy
price. Will I?
Yeah.
I'm going to say no. It offers nothing that that the 3DS XL doesn't have. So
Will you buy a red or blue accented one?
it comes in red. Oh,
Red or blue, from what I see here.
Oh, I'm
And
tempted.
it's just an accent. It's kind of wedge shaped, so I think it would make a great doorstop.
I thought that actually as well. Yeah.
So last time I checked, Sony were a Japanese company.
It's not inaccurate.
So almost to the point where you could almost say it is almost a national treasure to the Japanese.
No, it's one of their big manufacturers. They make loads of different products. Of course they are.
So, let's say hypothetically I'm Japanese, I'm a patriot, I love Sony products. When's the PS4 out, and will I enjoy it at the same time as the rest of the world?
No, but you'll buy it anyway. Because that's what you do. Because you ain't buying an Xbox, are you?
So just remind me of when it's out in Europe and the US, the PlayStation 4. Is it November 22nd, or am I confusing that with the X-Bone?
15th, is it 14th or 15th in the US?
15th in the US.
Yeah, and then we get it a fortnight later, 29th.
Okay, so a fortnight. It's not great, but 2 weeks. We're all grown ups. We can live with that. When did the Japanese get it?
February the 22nd.
That is just appalling, isn't it? Wouldn't you be so angry if you were a Japanese gamer?
Yes, but there again, I think, taking a slightly pragmatic view of it, if you're creating these things and you've got huge pre-order numbers and the like, and the big battleground is going to be the US, then that's where you want to plumb all of the consoles that you can get your hands on. That's where you want to kind of be firing all the assembly lines. And so, I mean, as Leon's already said, they're not going to be buying the Xbox One in Japan anyway. So delayed launch, it could be out 2015, and the fact is that there wouldn't be any great dent in their market share there. So I think
Nintendo right now are going, right, think of all these 2DSs we can ship.
yeah, no, it must be a bit of a kick in the proverbials for them. But there again, there are so many games they get that never end up on these shores anyway. I'm sure they're not exactly going to be crying into their sake over it.
By that time, they'll have all the good games out anyway, so you're trying to take it and, it's...
Every cloud.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's what they've said. They've said that the reason they're delaying it is because they don't have many Japanese-oriented games ready for launch, isn't it? So that's their rationale for delaying it.
Well, I mean, the big thing that they've got is Killzone, and traditionally first-person shooters don't do that much in Japan. I mean, most people I know who are interested in the PS4 are saying, well, exclusives, it's Killzone or Knack. And so if you take away the interest in Killzone and you've just got Knack, then it doesn't look that appealing, does it?
And Killzone's rubbish.
I like Killzone.
Fact.
Pretty much.
I don't think it's rubbish, it's just pretty mediocre.
I think it's hyped because of the exclusivity, like people wanting to kind of justify their preference for console by saying that.
I really enjoyed it. I really like the multiplayer. And I think the main reason is because I got an achievement. Well, it's a trophy. It's a trophy, they call it.
Your
on
first
PlayStation,
ever.
right? No. I've got many trophies, but this one was special. I think you had to rank in like the top 100 players over a week, so it was incredibly difficult to get. So I basically played it. I'm not exaggerating. I think I played it for about 12 hours every day for a whole entire week.
Wow.
And I never in a million years expected to get in.
Which Killzone was this, sorry?
2, I think, Killzone 2.
Okay.
Was that the first big one that came out on the PS3? And I think I even got up at like midnight, or I stayed up till midnight to log in to see the time tick over and see that trophy pop, and I got it, and it was a big moment. So you can say what you want about Killzone, but you can never take away my trophy.
Don't take that moment away from me.
People want it to be a big franchise, but it's not. It's not
No.
a Halo.
No,
It's not. It's
it
not.
isn't.
It's not a huge thing. But I think it does have a core fan base, but it's never going to be a massive title.
Surely you PC boys want to talk about the Steam family sharing. Come on.
Oh, now that looks really interesting. Microsoft must have been looking at that going, oh, come on. People can't be...
I'm sure it's stronger worded than that.
Yeah, you can't. You've got to be kidding me. Everyone's falling over themselves saying, well done, that's a brilliant idea. Oh, God. Somewhere, some PR man's been taken out back and they've just said, just finish him.
The PC takes another step towards being this perfect platform for me.
But see, it's that thing of, were Microsoft all along trying to preempt Steambox? Were they kind of taking on board ideas that would be put in practice in the next... We'll see them in the next 12 to 18 months. And this is just the first of them.
Because, hang on a sec. Sorry?
Do you want any more?
I will do in a sec, yeah. My wife's asking if I want more pizza.
We'll have some as well.
You greedy bastard.
You eating all the pizza?
Was that pizza? I'll have some pizza.
Does she deliver?
Liver on a pizza?
I bet you picked all the meatballs off the Meteor as well.
No, not quite yet. We keep getting stuck in conversation when I should be eating pizza. Anyway, where were we? Oh, we were
Family
talking
sharing.
about how amazing the PC is now. Well, let's hang on. Let's dial it back a bit. So, first thing, what exactly was announced? How does it work? What are the limitations?
It's similar to what Microsoft announced. Basically, it's your whole library. You can't do individual games, and you can have, I think it's 10 people. But if they can only play like one game, if someone's playing a game from your library, as far as I understand it, someone's playing a game from your library, then nobody else can be playing a game in your library. Or if you come online and start playing, it kicks them out, I believe. So yeah, I think there's a little bit more to it than that. It's only just been announced and there's a beta sign up and stuff like that. I love the way they didn't even change the name. I think that's great. I think somebody at Steam was just like, guys, let's just call it Family Show.
When they release the Steam Box, they should just call it the Steam Box 1.
Yeah, just why not? It's amazing.
10
But
people
yeah,
seems really generous. Really generous.
I think it's 10. I'm pretty sure it's 10. I want to be right with this. I don't want to
Because,
be
of course, the second it was announced on the forum, everyone's like, so guys, technically, we're all a family here. And there's one particular member that was mentioned, Iron. I think it's how you pronounce it. That's the problem with forums. No one ever knows how you pronounce things. But anyway, he's got the most ridiculous Steam library. So everyone's falling over each other to say, "Look, I'll be your bro."
No, you want Steve Hill is the man. I want yours, Steve, because basically you buy everything but never play anything. So I think if you wouldn't mind sharing with me, I'd be a happy
Mate,
happy
if
Ben.
you wanna buddy up with me, I'm more than happy to do that.
Sold. High five.
I mean, obviously it needs to happen and it needs to work, and Steam need to be satisfied that it's worth something forging ahead with. But if it works, there's no reason why the others shouldn't follow, is there?
Yeah, exactly, and that's the thing. It's setting precedents, which is what I like. It's a bit ironic that Microsoft tried, but to be fair, Microsoft did it in the worst ham-fisted way ever, and doled out the information in small bites and said ifs and maybes, and they weren't concrete about it, and it was just a poor introduction of it. Whereas Steam have they've done it right. They've pretty much said exactly how it's going to work. They've got the beta coming and stuff like that. So if you're going to announce something, then you need to do it properly. And they are doing it properly. But Microsoft have said that although these features have gone away, they do want to bring them back. So that they're just regrouping, hopefully, and looking at stuff like this, and probably just taking the temperature of the water once the console launches and seeing how many people are actually buying digital games and stuff like that. And maybe they can bring back the family sharing in a more realistic way that people aren't going to freak out about.
Definitely. Well, if any of our listeners are interested in trying to get in on the beta, I think there's only like 1,000 places that are going to be dished out. You need to be a member of the family sharing group on Steam, and then anyone selected will be picked at random. So if you want to give it a go, it's worth taking a look. Guys, what we've been reviewing this month, I know, Ben, you've been doing Saints Row 4, is that right?
I did Saints Row 4, yeah.
Should we dive into that one first?
Yeah, let's. Just before we do, I have to check this email from my wife. I've been emailing my wife through this podcast. I emailed her, would you mind getting me a beer, please? She replied, I'm in bed. Do you want me to go downstairs? I replied, only if you love me.
Oh, nice.
She said, okay, but do you think okay means...
That means she's still in bed.
If I loved you, I would have done that. But I'm actually going to stay in bed. I'm not sure. Anyway, yeah, Saints Row 4. Shall I talk about it a bit?
I want to hear you talk about it because it's controversial.
Yes, I reviewed Saints Row the Third when that came out, and I really, really enjoyed it. I was, as I've said on this podcast many times, really looking forward to Saints Row 4, and I suspect Saints Row the Fourth. They missed the trick. Saints Row goes fourth. I actually thought that it might be better than GTA 5. For all I know, it might still be. But it did leave me, I have to say, a little bit disappointed. So for anyone who doesn't know what the kind of setup is, at the start of the game, your character, the boss of the Saints, is president of the USA. It starts off you're riding a nuclear warhead and kind of deactivate it. It's a really kind of big set piece in exactly the same way as the introduction to Saints Row the Third was. Then soon after that, there's an alien invasion led by a really, really two-dimensional antagonist, actually, called Zinyak, who's like the bad guy all the way through. And the upshot of it is you end up in a Matrix-like simulation of the city of Steelport, which is the city that was in Saints Row the Third. And the reason why they've done that is in order that you can have superpowers throughout the game. And the main ones that you get very, very early on, and this was one of my main issues with it, are the ability to jump really high, effectively as high as buildings or higher as the game goes on, and to sprint really fast. So the positives about it are that the humour's still there, the fundamental kind of aspects of the gameplay, loads of the different side quests and those kind of things are the same as they were before, or modified ever so slightly to accommodate the superpowers. But I think ultimately more is lost than is gained by the introduction of superpowers to the game.
Is it funny? Is it funny? I'll jump in there. Is it funny? Because it sounds hilarious. Like, that whole premise and the opening sequence, it's just ridiculousness upon ridiculousness. And if done right, it should be really, really funny. I think overall, yeah, it is funny. There's fewer standout moments for me. The one thing that they did do really well is, I've talked about it before, but that moment with the Sublime song in Saints Row the Third, there's 2 or 3 times where they use different songs through this to really, really great effect. And I wouldn't want to spoil it for anyone, but they do that quite well. There are lots of decent moments, but there are entire sections of gameplay where you're forced to play through something that seems for no more reason than to service the joke that they're trying to tell, whereas before the jokes kind of fell naturally around what you were doing anyway. Right. Because I have to say, like, from what I've seen on the forum, it's gone down really, really well. Everyone seems to be really enjoying it.
And I accept, when I kind of put the review up and I kind of tweeted it to people and kind of stuck it on Facebook for my mates, I said it's one of probably only the second or third time I've written a review where I think the tone of, or the way I felt about it, really doesn't seem to chime with the popular consensus. But that's the way it goes sometimes. I thought it was a really good game. I thought it was a really decent, really sort of solid game. I just didn't think it was as good as the last one, and I'm probably not really going to remember much about it in terms of the details in a year or two. I can still remember some of the jokes that were made in Saints Row the Third, and I'm sure a lot of other people can as well. But there was a lot less about this to kind of latch onto in that respect.
Do you think it was rushed out? Do you think it was brought to market sooner? Had they spent a bit more time on it?
No,
because there was was this originally slated as DLC for the last one?
Yeah, it was, but I think I actually said explicitly in the review it was as DLC, but I think this is a bit of a cheap shot because there's nothing about it that feels like it isn't a full game, at least in terms of content. In terms of things like graphics, it hasn't moved on at all, and I think because it's a simulation and they can do little special effects in the simulation like glitches, they actually use that in a way to mask the limitations with the graphics. It depends whether or not, for open world games, I do like better graphics. I think it's really nice if you've got a kind of big city and there's great draw distance and it looks spectacular. This doesn't, but that wouldn't be the end of the world, I don't think. I think it's the choices they made over the mechanics of the game that ultimately detract from the experience and make it, for me, inferior to the third.
I picked it up the other day, and I agree with pretty much Ben said. It's still a great game, in terms of the humour and the the way it's written and some of the set pieces from start to begin. I've only played a few hours, but the start, it makes a big bold entrance, balls to the wall as usual, big introduction. Then I was the same, there's still a massive what the F moment, like an hour or two in, then it gives you these powers, and it's like I'm still getting used to what's going on. The world's been taken over by aliens. I'm in the simulation. Then you give me superpowers. It's kind of like there's one thing after another. It didn't give you a chance to sort of like gradually build into it. It's kind of like you chucked everything at once, and then it sort of it spoils it in a way. But it's the humour and stuff still there. But I agree with what Ben says. It's the third in terms of like pacing and actual overall quality is better, but it's still enjoyable.
People seem to be getting lots of gameplay out of it. Hours and hours of content there to trawl through, and lots of side quests and things like that. Fair to say it's good value for money?
Yes, but the main campaign is shorter than it was than the one from the third. But overall, yeah, it is. I mean, there's loads and loads and loads, and I think I've finished the campaign at around the 15 or 16 hour mark, and that's with sort of doing a fair amount of the side quests and activities and things. But to be honest, something like, there's that insurance fraud thing. So anyone who played Saints Row the Third, I really loved it. It's this, all you're supposed to do is kind of let yourself run over as many times as you can, or do as much damage to yourself as you can in a space of time, in order to sort of rack up as much money on insurance fraud as possible. But that comes back and is almost, it's exactly the same as it was before. So I suppose if I hadn't played the third, I might have done that repeatedly through the game, whereas once I've done it a couple of times, I was like, well, it's done.
It was old news, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe for someone that hasn't played the third... Actually, I mean, that's one of the things that I would say about my review. If you haven't played Saints Row the Third, you should. If for some reason someone's just giving you this one, I think maybe then you might think a bit more of it than I did in this review, and that would be legitimate.
Either way, it serves as a really, really nice sort of starter to the main course, if you like. GTA 4 just round the corner. How long have we got now?
Tuesday next week.
Several years ago for GTA 4.
Yeah, GTA 5, mate. Keep up.
I was
get with the times. Come on.
Well, I'm reading the show notes, which, unless I'm reading them wrong, Mark, what have you got here?
IV, whatever IV is in Roman numerals.
Oh, Steve, what do you mean? You know what IV is?
I didn't do Roman at school.
Oh, dude.
I've got a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old girl, and I really hope.
I mean, you've got a VI and an IV.
Nice.
Do they really not do Roman numerals
In school anymore?
in school these days?
They might have done. I might have been ill that day.
Missed your Roman classes. Well, look, you sabotaged me because there it is, black and white. Listeners, you can't see it, but it's right there, GTA 4. Anyway.
And who do you believe, listeners?
I've decided I'm sitting out 5. I'm not going to play it on this generation of consoles. I'm not going to play it unless I can either get it on a PC or one of the new ones. I haven't decided which camp I sit in yet, by the way. Xbox One or PS4. But, guys, are you looking forward to this one? Are you picking it up? Have you got it pre-ordered?
I'm reviewing it. Well, actually, we're doing a bit each, aren't we, Mark? That's the deal.
Yep, I'll tackle the multiplayer, which luckily has been put back a fortnight, so that's okay by me.
Yeah, and I'll do the single player. Yeah, I'm really up for it. I'm really looking forward to it. And yeah, like you say, I'm now thinking of it like Saints Row 4 was a bit of an appetizer for the main course. You're right, Steve.
Was there a new Vita announced?
Vita TV.
And Vita Slim.
So there was a new Vita announced.
Yeah.
Okay, so the TV thing, we'll leave that to the weekly boys. Mark, I'm sure you, I'm sure you talked about it plenty on Monday.
Yep.
When's it go out? Wednesday. Oh, I just let everyone behind the curtain. No, it's Wednesday. You record and release it. But a Vita Slim, because I nearly bought a Vita the other day after you guys were singing its praises. I nearly went and got one. I'm glad I didn't. Now the Slim looked like it's going to be a bit of an advancement.
No, buy the fat one.
Hasn't it got better battery life though? Is that right?
It's got better battery life, but they're swapping out the OLED screen for an LCD, and so I would say stick with the one that's out now. They're only going to change battery life. I think they're touting in about 6 hours. Well, you should be able to get 4 to 5 from the standard Vita as it is anyway. And who's playing it for longer than that?
Fair enough. I think it is worth getting, Steve. I think I've been recommending it to people. I've got a couple of friends that have picked them up. I think it's a really, really, really great console, and it'll only get better once the PS4's out.
Well, I think that's it. I think the integration between all the units does look like it could be really, really interesting. I don't really want to get caught in that trap of buying both consoles, although I know it's probably going to happen.
If we're talking in 5 years, it'll be you saying, "Oh, I just sold my third Xbox One, but I think I'm going to buy another one next month because whatever's just come out."
I had a look at my my PS3 under the telly the other day. I thought, do I really need that? Does it need to be there right now? And then Beyond is out, isn't it, in a few weeks? And I thought, I don't know. So I think I'm going to keep it. It's had a stay of execution, shall we say? But yeah, I'm still undecided as to which next-gen console I'm going to buy. Or even if I'm going to get one, I might build a new PC next month. Who knows? Leon, you've been playing Splinter Cell Blacklist this month. Go loud or go quiet?
Well, that is the question with this title. It's good. I like Splinter Cell, but as I put in the review, it's kind of not really a stealth game, but it is, only if you want it to be, but then not really. Because they kind of it's great, don't get me wrong, let's start at the beginning. It's kind of a reboot in a way. It's not Michael Ironside anymore. Shock horror, the internet is crying. It's some other guy who's doing a gravelly voice. They've kind of Mass Effected a little bit. You fly around on this huge plane and wander around and speak to people and do extra missions and upgrade your ship and stuff like that. He's a little bit Jack Bauer-ish. He likes torturing people and doing things at all costs. And the big news is that they've given you 3 ways to play it. You can play it Ghost, which is classic Splinter Cell. You can play it Panther, which is stealthy but deadly. And then you can play it in Assault, which is just kicking doors down and shooting people in the face. And it's
You don't sound very excited.
The problem is, right, that the stealthy way to play Splinter Cell is arguably, in inverted commas, the right way to play it. It's certainly the most rewarding way to play it. Going through a level and shooting out lights, sticking to shadows, breaking necks, that sort of stuff. Closing doors behind you and seeing that you've left 12 enemies undetected or something like that. It's quite cool, and you do feel like a bit of a badass when you do it. The problem is that the option is always there, like the temptation is always there. As I put in the review, stealth games are inherently irritating. Everybody's played a stealth game and then played for 15 minutes and something catches you out and the stealth's over and you have to reload and start again. They've mitigated that by saying, when it goes wrong, you can just shoot everybody and then move on. You know, you don't have to start again if you want. But because that temptation is there, I tend to do that when I can. And
Yeah,
then
but I think
bad.
that's fine if it's balanced. You know, if you're saying to me, okay, fine, stealth is the way to go. If you need to go loud, then fine as well. But it's going to be a much harder process.
It really isn't, though. This is the problem. This stealthy is the hardest way to go as well.
Right.
I mean, it all depends on difficulty and stuff as well. But ultimately, by the end of the game, it just got to the point where, like, I had a silent sniper rifle, was sitting behind cover, and just sniped 5 people, and then walked through the middle of the level and went next. You know, and I kind of felt bad for doing it. But you know, when you just get frustrated, I would try stealth, but if it got annoying, I'd snipe everybody and move on. Saying that, though, when you do play it stealth, it is actually really, really rewarding. And by the end of the game, I had really got into doing that and restarting when I messed it up. I was doing it to myself. I was actually ending the game myself and going, right, start that level again because I want to do it stealth this time. So it's a decent game, but I feel like they should have had more balls to sort of say, no, this is a stealth game, and not give you the cheap cop-out. It's making it more mainstream, you know? They want people to be able to play it as basically a cover-based shooter in some ways, which is a little disappointing.
But are there any proper stealth games left? I mean, out-and-out stealth games that purely will, you know, punish you for putting a foot wrong?
What was the last game we had this debate over? And Ben
Hitman.
and Mark, you know...
Oh no, Deus Ex, yeah.
Deus Ex.
But the
that's
thing with
one.
Deus Ex is, as much as I, you know, say what I say about it, you weren't often forced, apart from with the boss fights, to do anything particular. Whereas what's really irritated me, I was just playing Splinter Cell earlier on actually, and I haven't finished it or anything. But what really annoyed me is I'm on this section where if anyone sees me, I lose. I have to go back to the start. But it's really inconsistent, because sometimes it's fine and you can just start shooting everyone, and then other times they funnel you into certain gameplay styles, like these really crap bits where you have to shoot from is it a helicopter, Leon, where you're kind of just blowing people up or sniping people, aren't you?
You have to do some sniping stuff, and it's kind of like that Death from Above Call of Duty sequence where everything is in like heat sensor, and you have to snipe people and stuff. But you're right, it's really inconsistent. I actually found those levels where they force you to not be seen or not kill anybody, even when you have to get through a level without being detected, but you couldn't kill anybody. I found those really rewarding. Those were the best bits for me. The worst bits I found where it was like, right, I've stealthed through this entire level, and at the end they go, right, shoot everybody, because that's what you got to do, because we need a big end to this level, so we're going to explode a few things, bust a few doors down, and you have no choice but to go loud and shoot everybody. So you're right, it was really inconsistent in a way.
But wouldn't it be incredibly bold in this day and age to just put an out-and-out stealth game on the market?
Well, there are some indie games. There's that Stealth Bastard. Stealth
Yeah, but they can take the risk, can't they?
Yeah, they can.
You know,
you're
they
right.
can.
You're right.
They can do that. You know, if Splinter Cell Blacklist is a massive, massive failure because everyone's like, it's just too hard or it's just too frustrating, you know, that could be the death knell for that series. I'm sure they'd reboot it, but, you know, again, it's kind of like, are you really that surprised that they've tried to pander to everyone?
I wonder if that new Thief, they're doing a new Thief, aren't they? And that was always pretty good for being stealth.
Yeah, definitely. That's a really good point, yeah, because that fan base as well, they have a very, very clear idea of what they want to see that game as.
You're right, you know, it is made to be mainstream, and they need to sell these games, and at the same time, I think I say it in the review, half of it is my problem, you know, like, I can play this game stealth if I want to. If you want to, you can put it on perfectionist or whatever it is, and try and get through it without anybody seeing you and whatnot, and killing absolutely nobody. That is entirely up to you to do that, and I guess that's the point. The choice is there for you to do that if you want to, but at the same time, the game has to make some compromises to allow people to play through it in a loud fashion. You know, there's cover everywhere. They make these things at the end of the levels where you have to really get into combat and stuff like that. The end of the levels, they grade you on your performance, but ultimately it doesn't really matter. Stealth is slightly weighted more positively, but in reality you can play it however you want. I don't know, I just wish they had more confidence in their audience, that they would actually buy the stealth stealth game. Who knows? Maybe they've got spreadsheets telling them that people don't buy them, and
But I'm
hence why
sure,
they're
yeah,
doing
I'm
this.
sure that is, and that must be a massive part of it. You know, at some point you've got to marry a franchise with a set of statistics that tell you you've got to be going in a certain direction. Because Splinter Cell for me has always been stealth. It was unashamed in what it wanted to do. It was all about hanging from the ceiling with night vision goggles on and waiting for this guy to do that, so this guy can do that. You know, and it's a shame if that's been lost somewhere along the line.
Yeah, well, that's the thing as well. It's like, that's my pet hate. And I said this to Ben when we were discussing Saints Row 4. It's when games are designed by committee and made too easy. I hate it when that happens, and when a series loses its identity. I'm not saying Splinter Cell has lost its identity, because it is still Splinter Cell, and like I say, you can still play it like that. But when you don't gain that sense of satisfaction from beating something and achieving something anymore, that's a shame. And I feel like Saints Row 4 is like that as well. They give you those powers so early that there is no challenge to it. Therefore, the game is less attractive to me. And Splinter Cell is kind of like that for me as well, because I can just shoot everybody. It's less of an achievement when I finish it, unless I force myself to do it stealthily.
But do you think that developers perhaps see it as an evolution? Because as you see each series kind of go on, sooner or later they add in bits that will add, you know, in brackets, variety. You know, it's something that you see increasingly with shooters. There will be a vehicular level. There will be something where, you know, it's on an on-rails shooter or that kind of thing. And it's almost like everyone's scared to just make almost like the same game but tighten it up, just polish it, and, you know, just release the game that only sits in one genre.
That's the point exactly. It's relegating something that was a genre to a gameplay element. So stealth was a genre. There was loads of games that were properly stealthy, and, you know, you had to play through in a stealth way. Now it's just a gameplay element of a number of games: Batman, Dishonored, Deus Ex, I suppose, to some extent. But all of these games where there is a stealth element to them, but it's not committed to the genre.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say you can argue Evolution, or perhaps Evolution is another man's watered down.
It's kind of disappointing. But saying that, I mean, this is the thing. We tend to talk about these things like this, but Splinter Cell isn't a bad game. Don't get me wrong. I actually did quite enjoy it in a way.
To be honest, you've sold me on it. I mean, I was out when it was just stealth, but as soon as you said, "Oh no, you know, if you accidentally alert someone, you can just shoot people in the face."
Shoot them in the face. Job done.
Yeah. Yeah,
but that's how I play it. I think the way that you played Deus Ex, Mark, that I'll go through. I won't try and not be seen. I'll just try and kill everyone without them seeing me. So it's not like I'm...
Deus Ex, can I just say, though, I didn't play that purely for homicidal reasons. You know, Deus Ex, I felt, actually kind of forced you into that simply because there was so much extra depth to the world that you could discover if you could rifle through desks and things like that, and break into particular computers. But you would find that people had routines that were going through certain levels, and you say, well, I could kind of cling to the wall here, make it to that exit on the other side, but I'll never know what's down there. And so it is just easier just to say, well, you know, I'll take them out one by one, and then I'll go and rifle through a few drawers.
Whatever floats your boat, you know.
Coming from the man who was rifling through drawers,
yeah,
not 20 minutes
ago.
My
own drawer. It doesn't count as rifling.
I do have to mention as well, though, Ubisoft doing it right on the multiplayer front. Spies Mercs, still good, still cool. Asymmetrical multiplayer.
Yeah, it's great.
It's the way forwards. It's really good. I don't know. Ubisoft seem to have some. I mean, there are a million games out there right now with unnecessary multiplayer modes. Just finished Lost Planet, worst multiplayer mode ever. No point playing it. About 3 people in the world playing it when I tried to play it the other day. Rubbish. Don't know why you did it. Just pour your money into the single player and just shut up. No one cares. But Spies vs Mercs, it's great. You know, the Mercs are in first person, the spies are the Sam Fishers, and it's all dark and gloomy, and they have to run around and hack stuff, and the Mercs have to just shoot them in the face. But it's amazing. It's great.
Sounds really fun.
It is actually really, really genuinely fun. The new version of it is a little bit overcooked. They've done the whole upgrading everything and skills trees and all that sort of stuff.
Right.
But there is a classic mode in there which has less people, and it's more moodier, and there's less mess around the whole experience. So yeah, definitely that is totally worth playing because it is awesome.
Outlast, fellas, I mentioned it in the intro. Wow, I've been blown away. I sent out an email just before the podcast asking or appealing for others to play it. I think, Ben, you were the only one brave enough to take it up. Steve, did you jump in as well?
I haven't yet. I've watched the preview video and it looks very interesting, and I might pick it up at some point. It looks something like I might sit through and play. I know Ben played about 10 seconds of it and then instantly turned it off before taking to Twitter and announcing it.
That was the first time. I've got up to 36 minutes now.
Ooh.
I'll just confess straight up. All right, John, Steve, tell them what it's about and then I'll confess.
Yeah, Outlast is a PC game. It's an indie game. I think it's coming to PlayStation. Mark, you said it was coming to the PlayStation later in the year?
Yes, no, I'm pretty sure it's coming to PS4.
Yeah, okay. Survival horror, but when I say survival horror, I mean it is out and out the best example of a survival horror game I think I've ever played in my life. I mean, I won't go into too much details about the plot, but you're a journalist and you go to investigate some strange goings on at a asylum. And of course, this asylum is in the top of a hill in the middle of nowhere. And of course, there's a storm as you go up there. And yeah, it's very creepy and incredibly scary, Ben.
Terrifying. So the first time I played it, I think, much like when I played Amnesia, I made it halfway down the first corridor and was just like, nope, not gonna happen. So I put it on again today, and yeah, so I'll be honest. I played it for about 36 minutes. I've got it on Steam, but about half of that was with the volume right down and the subtitles on. And I mean right down, I could just about hear it. And even then, it made me jump on so many occasions. It was just, it's terrifying. But, you know, I'd put it alongside, it's a lot like Amnesia, I suppose.
I think by pure coincidence, we were talking about scary games and scary movies maybe a podcast ago or a couple of podcasts back. Yeah. I think what I'm just so taken with in this game is just how atmospheric it is. Fantastic use of sound and music more than anything, really.
And light. And also, it's probably the best example of having a camera in a game that there's been in years, actually using it as part of the mechanics of the game, rather than... What was
the
it?
Narrative as well.
Yeah, was it Dead Rising or whatever, where you just have to take the odd photo? There's been loads of games where you've had to do that. It's really, really great. It's really tense. And one of the things, I don't know about you, Steve, but when I've been playing it, I constantly feel like there's something just outside of what I can see. I've got that feeling all the time, like I'm going to turn around, there's just going to be some kind of, crazed whatever in my face.
I'll be up front with you. Whenever I start a new game, and it says, okay, now you need to slide this bar so that you can barely see this logo and only just see this logo.
You turn it all the way up, don't you?
All the way up. All the way up. I don't want any nasty surprises. And this game, I thought, you know what? Let's just let it take me where it wants to go. And I played ball. I said it all correctly. And some of the scares are a bit cheap. I think we mentioned that in our other conversation. Just sudden use of music to give you a scare or something else. But I think it's listening in to some of the inmate ramblings and musings that are really creepy.
Yeah, that's right.
Really creepy.
Yeah, it really is. And like the first time you kind of come across them, and there's you walk into the room and there's that guy kind of sitting on the edge of a bed just staring at a static on a TV, and it's just like, oh, what's he going to do? This is all a bit weird. And yeah, it really is. It's not. I don't think I've sworn so much. I was just at a constant string of like, I won't repeat it now, but it was me just in quite a lot of fear. Yeah, for 36 minutes. So thanks for that.
Yeah, no, my pleasure, guys. Is that a game you want to play? Do you want to be scared by games?
No, bona fide wuss here. I'm sorry. You know what? Genuinely, I think first time I was properly scared by a game would be like the original Resident Evil, and since then I've kind of stuck with the Resident Evil franchise, but that's kind of like my only real delving into survival horror.
Mark, what was that Resident Evil where that huge, big, kind of giant character that bursts through walls is just kind of chasing you over a period of the game?
That's
in
Nemesis.
Like certain sections.
Resident Evil 3, Nemesis.
Right.
And he just goes around going, stars. Stars.
Well, this game reminded me of that, and that feeling of being chased and the desperation to run, and the game even tells you at times, just randomly in the middle of nowhere, it says close doors behind you to slow down pursuers.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my god.
There's a whole
What?
control scheme for looking behind you as you're running away, isn't there?
As you're running, yeah. So well done.
I don't know if now. This might be a bit of a pedantic point. I'm not sure it's actually survival horror in the traditional sense. I think there's a sort of sub-genre onto itself of you have no ability to fight back and you just have to run away all the time. This and Amnesia, and I think is it Home? There's another indie game that came out within the last year anyway, and
Not played that.
survival
no.
horror is kind of where there's that kind of scarcity of ammo, but you do fight back, I think. But with these sorts of games,
No, I don't disagree with you. For me though, this is really what it should be about. You know, it should be hearing those footsteps and thinking, I've got to hide, and you hide, and then that whoever that person is, they come in, and you can almost feel your heart beating because you're so in the moment, and you're watching them through the grill in this locker. You know, you're being placed in a horror movie.
And one of the things that's really great about it is that it's first person, but there is a body. So if you look down, you can see your body, but you can also see your hands quite a lot. And you know, there's that mechanic of you can walk up to a door frame and peek around, and he kind of brings your character brings his hand up, look around the door, and it really is genuinely immersive, and heart and mouth stuff from start to finish, from start to 36 minutes in.
And it pulls no punches with language and gore and scenes of sexuality. Well, not conventional sexuality, shall we say? It's it's certainly the first instance of I've ever seen in a video game.
Sorry, what?
Spoilers. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I actually do think you should.
Leon,
I think you should edit that out, Steve.
Yeah, you're probably right, actually, yeah. Are you even at that section
no,
yet?
And I'd rather you hadn't said
I
it.
apologise.
So, No, it's fine. I'll probably never get
well,
that
look,
far.
it's not. It really isn't like a big thing in terms of what's happening, but you know, you will see. I don't think it will take anything away from the experience of this game. Leon, is this the kind of game that you'd be tempted to fire up a PC and play?
Not massively. Not because I don't like scary games, but only because I don't like games that try to be scary, if that makes any sense. Like, I don't play a game that is... I have played Slender. I've played Slender, and there's an Xbox equivalent called White Noise, which is where you just run away from a dude in a forest and try not to get caught. But I prefer it when games are more like Dead Space, where they're actually, surprisingly, a third-person shooter.
For a change.
Yeah, for a change, and then it scares you during that experience, not just I'm going into this to be scared. Like, I'm not really a horror movie person. I can never suspend my disbelief enough to just be like, yeah, this is scary. I can't. If you're telling me you're trying to be scary, instantly I am not scared.
But I think this is where, I feel I owe it to the developers to tell people, make it clear that this, where it shines is where it brings in that element of not panic, but the fear of being chased, or that time is against you, or that you've got to get this done in a certain way quickly to keep progress going or to survive in the game. It's done brilliantly, and the use of sound and lighting and everything to enhance that experience. When you feel like someone is coming, you've got to find that hiding place, and you're scrambling around, and there's often times where you'll make mistakes because you're just so panicked into making the wrong decision. But the first idea in your head is just to get straight back in and get it right.
I guess, yeah, that's for me. Like, that's the only way you're.
And
gonna
that should be the same thing you're feeling with Dead Space, or at least from my experience of playing those sorts of games, it is.
Yeah, I think that's the way that scary games get me. Not because I am scared of the situation, but more like, oh my god, I've been alive for an hour and I've got all my resources, and if that dude gets me, that's that gone. That's the scariness of me. That's all of the situation. Not I am actually generally going to pee my pants or anything.
Well, I mean, I think it's a great little game. I haven't finished it yet. I've still got a long way to go. I don't know whether I'm brave enough to go back in for anything longer than sort of 15 minutes at a time. But it's coming to consoles soon. If you've got a PC, you don't need a beastly rig to run it or anything like that. I think it's £14-15 on Steam at the moment. Is that right, Ben?
Yeah, something like that.
Anyway, did you have any plans to do a review in the next month or so? Halloween's coming up.
Will we play enough of it to review it?
No way am I
A 36-minute review of it.
I'm not going to be able to play enough of it to review it. No. It's but what I can tell you though is it's $14.99 on Steam. Why don't one of our listeners go and play it, finish it, and then write something about it?
Moving on, a little bit of controversy here. XCOM The Bureau. Many were kind of down on it before it even came out. Rumours of it being a first-person shooter, and it's actually a third-person shooter. Steve, fill us in. You reviewed this for the site.
I did, yep. Like I say, a lot of people wrote this off before it even released. They were expecting it just to be, a stinker. Saying things like, a lot of rumours flying about what perspective it'd take and what sort of direction it'd take. It's a third-person shooter that sort of riffs on the success of the tactical element of XCOM Enemy Unknown, which came out last year, I think. That was, sort of top-down strategy game that came to PC and consoles, and it was a sort of reboot, remake of the older XCOM games of old, and it was actually really good. But this one takes on more of a sort of frontal spin on the tactics, so you're actually at the head of it and you actually take command from the ground rather than from the air. So you actually play as a guy called William Carter, who's a bit of an off the rails agent, and
bit maverick.
Yeah, he's like a drunken sort of guy you inevitably end up sort of feeling for, and
hard boiled.
Yeah. Everything goes wrong. Aliens inevitably invade. In this sort of Cold War era where everyone's suspicious of each other. America's suspicious of Russia, Russia's suspicious of America, and everything happens. There's basically an underground government organisation, the Bureau, who were set up to prevent this or retaliate to an invasion from space, and you basically just work with them, take missions on similar style to Enemy Unknown. You go about America, you choose which missions you do, who you save, when, you get objectives to do like before, so one mission gives you a reward in one way, and you might annoy or pee a population off, but the reward might be worth it. So it's
so in that respect, it sounds massively similar to last year's.
Yeah, it is in that way. That the only sort of difference is the perspective thing. The actual third person element, which in fact is actually really good. The shooting and the cover mechanic is really good. It's not too dissimilar from Mass Effect, really. It's there's big influences from Mass Effect. With the style, the aliens, and the sort of the cover mechanic and the shooting. You can also use powers in this one as well. You get to sort of use the powers that the aliens have. You can take their technology and sort of utilise them for yourself. So the sort of lift abilities and shield abilities, which again are sort of from Mass Effect, but you don't ever feel.
Is it turn based like the last game?
No, it's just an open active game. Enemies constantly move, and try and flank you and outmaneuver you, which they actually do. It's nice to see a game where AI sort of outwits you in their intelligence rather than sheer number and just like sort of throwing them at you again and again. But yeah, it's actually quite good. It's it's not the best third person shooter out there. It looks quite good actually. There's a few rough bits in there. The frame rate drops occasionally and the textures can be late to popping, but they're forgettable. And it's actually quite an enjoyable game to say. People were writing it off. It's got fairly good.
Has it gone down on the forum? Of our users, our members, been quite pleasantly surprised by it, or are they kind of the haters are going to hate kind of thing?
I haven't actually seen it, but I'd be surprised if people got on its back. About it being a bit weak technically, but it's something that everybody should enjoy. They shouldn't judge it or prejudge it and say, "Oh yeah, I'm not playing it because it's not really an XCOM game." It's not, but it makes good use of the XCOM brand. It's kind there's similar sort of enemies and a bit of a similar sort of storyline in it, which it uses quite well. You can see this as sort of a precursor to Enemy Unknown, where that's the sort of future.
Because I love the brand. I think the brand's really strong, and I don't have any problem with lots of spin-offs or sort of evolved games coming out of it.
The worry is that they take over, though, isn't it? That's
I guess so.
The great worry. I mean, we've all got series that we're happy to say about a series that we don't particularly, we've got no vested interest in. Oh, well, it doesn't matter what kind of spin-offs come there. We've all got particular kind of franchises that we love that we don't want to see kind of monkeyed with too much. So I can kind of understand why people would suddenly say, XCOM as one of the, after one great reboot, perhaps one of the last kind of bastions of certainly console turn-based strategy games, that it would kind of move into a more shooty angle.
Did you play much of the last year's XCOM, Mark? Is that your bag? Is that not really your thing? Or
I've only actually started playing it recently on because it was free with PlayStation Plus. Got to say, it's not really my cup of tea. It's more traditionally, I think, a PC gamer's field there, Steve.
Well, I got it day one, played it for a little bit, and then just kind of. Again, I don't think it's a kind of pick up and play game. It's one for you want quite long sessions, and the deeper you get, the more rewarding it is. And being quite time poor right now, that's difficult for me to do. Ben, did you play much of it when it came out?
Finished it.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're really obviously a fan then, yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't expect to be. I liked the original, years back, and I picked it up and I thought, this will be all right, and I just found myself getting totally lost in it. Yeah, and there's a story, because it's kind of emergent. You've got your little guys, and they die or they live. And there was a bloke I had, a sniper called Das who made it through almost from the start right to the end, and I didn't cheat or kind of reload or anything. And he was the one, without doing any spoilers of the end, who took the final shot. So, and it's really kind of stuck with me that I had this really cool character that kind of developed all the way through. I
feel
thought
quite
it was fantastic.
attached.
Yeah, I really did. I would have been gutted if he'd have died. And in the very last mission, I lost, a good 3 or 4 people that had been there for a long time. Yeah, it was an absolute... Yeah, and it was complete mismanagement. It
wasn't uncommon for people to be starting again. If they lost a character they really, really like, they'd just reload and...
But I think it undermines it a bit. I kind of made a decision, and I stuck with it.
Yeah, ruthless. I like it.
Ruthless. Once you're dead, you're dead.
The idea of the Bureau, did it offend you? I mean, were you happy to see an evolved XCOM title out there?
I haven't even really thought about it being XCOM, if I'm honest. It's just there's a shooter out there that I thought might be a bit crap because of the development, and then Steve said actually it's all right. So I'll give it a go at some point and see what it's like. But I'm not really thinking of it as an XCOM game.
Steve, review up on the site now, or
It'll be going up shortly.
Great.
I've got to finalise it and put it up.
By the time this podcast's live, so it'll probably be...
Yeah, it will be, yeah.
Wonderful 101. Who's... is this a week?
Who do you think?
Do you have to ask?
Oh, yeah, it's one of them.
Hi, Mark.
So childish. You've had the wonderful 101 and Pikmin 3 as well. In the space of a month.
Wow.
And then Rayman next month as well. I'm writing a review for that.
Exactly.
Off your face on games. Yeah.
It's a tidal wave.
Yeah, take that for a Wii U combo.
Interesting game, it says here. Tell me more.
Yeah, I mean, it's come from Hideki Kamiya, Platinum Games, guy behind Devil May Cry and various other ones with Clover Studios, so it's got a great pedigree. It was one of those games that kind of really grabbed people's attention when they first saw the Wii U being demonstrated, and very colourful, evoked memories of Beautiful Joe and the like. And it is absolutely mad, but it's one of those games where it almost perfectly sums up where the Wii U is, where it hopes to be, and why it'll probably fail. It's got great kind of innovation in there in the basic gameplay, in that it's a bit like Pikmin in that you're utilising a group of individuals to kind of form shapes and to kind of work as a whole, and it's got a bit of the kind of Okami line drawing mechanic in it. So you're in fact utilising these people that you're rescuing along the way to kind of build into weapons themselves and that kind of thing.
I'm just firing it up on YouTube because I mean I know nothing about it, and I want to see what this game is all about.
It's really hard to get a handle on it from that because it's just, it's just a blur of colour, and it's almost like a classic old school arcade game where it's just, the person watching doesn't get that much out of it.
Yeah. I see what you mean now. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's chaotic, and it becomes great fun, but there are lots of kind of grating things with it.
He's just turned into like a paraglider and just taken off and then landed again.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, you're making weapons. You can turn into a glider. It's little kind of puzzle elements to move around the terrain and the like. There's lots of content in there, but it is one of those games where you do suddenly realise you're playing it on a gamepad and you don't really need to be. It's one of those moments where you just kind of think, if this is a great game and it's still, it's coming from great minds who should be able to utilise great technology and they're not, then perhaps there's just something wrong here. I mean, it does feel like it perhaps would sit better on the Wii. I mean, with the Wiimote drawing shapes and the like, trying to hold a stylus whilst you're holding the gamepad.
Yeah, because they've got a very clever little video on here that's got a window bottom right, and it's actually showing the guy playing the game. So he's having to take a hand off the pad to draw shapes on the tablet. It does seem a bit awkward.
Yeah, I mean, this kind of comes back to the fact that they've used this resistive rather than capacitive screen. I mean, with a finger it would have been a lot easier, but trying to kind of keep that stylus in your between index finger and middle finger like it was kind of like a little cigarette or something all the time just seems a little bit odd. You can use the sticks to be able to draw the shapes, but again, you may as well just pick up the Pro Controller if you're doing that. I mean, it does have the kind of dual screen nature to it in some areas where you have to look at both screens, but even that, it just doesn't really seem like it was designed wholly around that idea.
Seems bonkers.
It is bonkers, and it's a great game, but I mean, it tanked for first day sales in Japan. It doesn't look like it's going to really drive anything for the Wii U. I'm hoping that along with Pikmin 3 have pushed things on a bit, but as this came out after Pikmin 3 and still not great sales, it just seems, has everyone who's bought a Wii U just decided that the one game that month was Pikmin 3? Or is it just the case that the game's so madcap that it's hard for people to get a handle on it? Or is it simply, as a lot of people suspect, that the Wii U's just dying a little bit?
Yeah, sorry to say, but I think I know what the answer might be.
Yeah, fair enough.
Anything else? Anyone else want to chip in on Wonderful 101? Okay then.
I will say though that, screw you, Wii U, for stealing Bayonetta 2. You're dying and you're taking Bayonetta 2 down with you.
Oh god, yeah, they've still got that to come, haven't they?
Yes, just screw you.
They might end up doing that with Rayman though again, might they? Where they just put it as a multi-format release if it's dying.
Can they change their mind?
So.
What if the thing's dead in the ground by then? Take Bayonetta 2 with it.
I think that's the thing with Bayonetta 2. It wasn't going to exist, and then the Wii U resurrected it or something.
It sounds like a match made in heaven right now, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I think a big part of their problem is when they first started marketing this thing, there was all the talk of having the normal games for grown-ups that you get on other consoles.
Yeah.
And now they're releasing all this stuff like the Wonderful 101 with this. It looks like it's a reject of the Incredibles.
Yeah.
Who's it for?
Yeah. Well, there we go.
Well, it's for Mark, obviously, but I don't know who else.
Do we always seem to end each episode with a downer on the Wii U for some reason?
Well, we started this episode with a downer on Nintendo, so...
Bookends.
Well, we've got a downer Ouya story. I really want to talk about the Ouya story, guys.
I can give Ben a good
Stick the
kicking.
boot into that.
Yeah, I really do, because it's terrible.
When we get onto my next draw next month, we can start talking about the Wii U.
Alright, fair enough.
Brilliant.
The Ouya props up the chest of drawers.
So Leon, fill us in, Ouya, and their odd tactics for getting games funded and exclusive and ham-fistedness.
So basically, they started a program saying that we're going to take £1 million and give it out to indie developers. But the only thing is, you have to be on Kickstarter and raise at least $50,000, and you have to give us 6 months worth of exclusivity. Those are basically the 3 caveats that they've given to it.
What was the name? The name of said program?
I'm
firing it up now. It made me laugh.
Free games.
Free the games.
Free the games.
Free the games.
Free the
yeah,
games
that was
by
it.
making them exclusive on our console. By
Yeah,
locking
which-
them into our awful.
What did the O for Ouya stand for again?
Open.
Ah, right. Okay.
That'll be the one.
So yeah, those are the caveats. But basically, people are taking advantage of the system. There are a couple of games on there which have now been funded. There's this one football game which it's a little bit shady. They've had loads of pledges of like $10,000 from brand new people who have joined up to Kickstarter and only pledged to one product, and they have IP addresses which are very similar to the people who are making the game and stuff like that. I mean, the internet has ripped apart.
Allegedly, of course, allegedly.
Well, yeah, it is all allegedly at this point. But if you sit down and read, the internet investigation that has been done, it is pretty damning, to be honest. Basically, people appear to be gaming the system. So let's say we were at a development team right now. We may have a game that's fully in development. It might be finished. It might not even be started.
Yep.
But let's say we were all vaguely wealthy, or we knew some wealthy people. We could chuck in 10 grand each, get to 50k, have our game funded on Kickstarter. Ouya would give us another 50k, and then we could put out Pong and walk away with all the money.
And let's just be clear, they are committed, they are obligated now to put this money in for this game and see it through.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, they did do a blog post where what my name, Julie, I think she's the head of Ouya or whatnot, came out saying, I don't know what all the fuss is about. We're trying to give money to indies and stuff, and didn't acknowledge any of these problems or the shadiness that is going on in the background, or say, maybe we're checking out all these claims of scams that are going on in the background or anything like that. They basically just had the blinkers on saying, this program is awesome, we're trying to give money to people, so shut up. So yeah, I mean, indie developers are running away from Ouya now. They're actually taking their games off the store. I think one developer has at least taken their game off, and if you read the comments on that blog post, many of them are sort of saying they're really disappointed in the platform and it's not as open as it's meant to be, and it isn't kind of the ethos that they should be promoting. Beyond the fact that 50,000 limit for a start is actually too high for a lot of the small-scale independent developers that they're meant to be attracting. It will only attract, industry veterans.
The bigger guys, yeah.
Yeah, but supposedly the guys who possibly don't even need Kickstarter. And then there's just the fact that the system is open to rife abuse, which it appears to be having, and Ouya aren't doing anything about it. So, yeah. Not great.
Well, we'll watch this one with bated breath and see how it pans out. They're kind of on this road now to something. I mean, I wouldn't like to say what I think where Ouya's headed, but
Hang on. Hey Ben, what do you think?
Just throwing it out there.
I've just got a 180. Just like we can't roll off this without asking Ben. What
have
he
you
thinks.
actually read what's going on in chat?
Yeah, the chat is blowing up with Ben going. I don't
Allegedly.
know. I haven't read it.
Allegedly. It's not true.
Come on, man.
It's not true.
It sounds to me, Leon, like there's a whole load of accusations being thrown around with what on
Innocent
the face
until
of it
proven
might
guilty.
appear to be a solid evidence base to back them up. But I think until something's proven, it isn't proven. So, my Ouya is taking up very little space in this drawer. So as far as I'm concerned, it's not causing me a problem at all.
Just wasted how much on it when you first invested in it?
Well, invest is a strong word, isn't it? Invest.
They're giving out your money to those people who are scamming the system.
You're responsible for this coming to fruition. How
But
do
you know what?
feel?
This actually, it could have been a good thing, right? If they'd have just said, if there were very, very small pots of money available for really sort of genuinely struggling indie developers, and you kind of scrap that idea of exclusivity, this would have been quite a nice thing to do, I think.
Yeah, there's loads of ways they could have done it. They could have literally just gone around and handpicked some games that were doing well or looked great or they thought were cool and gone, you know what, guys, you're going to get like prime position on our marketplace. Here's an influx of cash to do this.
They
to
don't
do that.
even
They
need
could have-
exclusivity. They just need to champion it and just be associated with the games which play to the strengths of the platform and be a bit hipster. You know, just try and play that card. Why not?
Where they might have done well is by subsidising games on the platform and just saying, so say it's something that on an Android phone might cost, you know, however much, £1 or £1.50, that they make it free on Ouya. That might draw people in. That they actually pay the developer the same as they would have been paid anyway, but they make it more attractive to go and buy it from the Ouya. But let's face it, how many people now that bought an Ouya still have it plugged into a screen? Very, very few, I think.
Well, I see plenty pop up on the classifieds every now and then, and no one ever buys them.
No. Shall I tell you about something else I've bought?
Oh dear.
Is this the Pebble?
Yeah, it's on my
Yeah.
wrist now.
Joking.
Nah.
I'm actually vaguely interested in this.
Do you know what? I thought, so when I bought it, I thought, oh, this is a good idea, and then before it came, I thought that was a terrible idea that everyone will take the piss out of me for. But now it's here. It's been fantastic. I'm really, really
like
happy with
these.
it. So I get every
Okay,
notification.
most amazing thing that it does.
Well, it does loads of amazing things.
No, just one, the most amazing thing. The thing that's going to make me go, I have to have it.
Yeah, because what I use it for is just the kind of advertised, fairly basic functionality. So, so on the watch face, I've got like the time, which is fine. The
Amazing.
date, and at
What you'd
the
expect from every
at-
watch.
At the very bottom, I've got the next calendar
The
appointment,
correct
which
time?
is really useful for me for work. So it's always got like the next meeting I've got to go to, basically, and the time of that. I can control my
that's cool.
music with it. I use Spotify, so it'll tell me what track's playing. I can turn the volume up and down, do next
How's
track,
that done?
previous
So
track.
there's buttons on the watch? or-
Buttons on
I
the
can do that
physical
with my
buttons.
phone.
Physical buttons. Yeah, but I'm on the tube surrounded by idiots. So my phone can stay in my pockets, headphones.
Well, I'll tell you
in.
what, actually, I'm
do stuff with the
semi-interested
watch.
because on my headphones, I've got like an inline mic and it's really basic, so you have to like press it 3 quick times to go back a track or 3.5 times to do something else. You know, it is really basic. So if you're just kind of moving that to the wrist, that kind of makes sense, actually.
It does, and the notifications are kind of the main thing. So I get, I can choose. I use an app called Pebble Notifier, and it looks at every app I've got on my phone, and I can choose whether or not I want all of the notifications from that app to come through to my watch. So, and it's quite nice because at work I just have to be talking to people all the time and doing stuff all the time, and it's nice to not be interrupted, whereas before, if I get loads of work emails, I kind of look at my phone, hear a quick glance at the watch, no one really thinks anything of it, and my phone stays in my pocket. And one of the things I would say is, if you're one of the unfortunate people that have got some phone where the battery life is really, really terrible, then what I've experienced is, although your phone's Bluetooth will be on all the time, the fact that you won't be constantly turning your screen on and off to check stuff means that overall the battery lasts for quite a lot longer.
That's a cool point.
I genuinely really like it, and it just looks good. You know, it was about $150, I think, and if you're getting a decent watch, you'd probably be spending that or more anyway. And you know, watches last for ages. The charge on it lasts for over a week, I think. I haven't charged it since I got it, and yeah, it's really good. It's a fairly niche interest, I think, but if you're a watch wearer and you're obsessive, you know, if you're kind of a bit broken in terms of your relationship with the internet like I am, it's just nice to have all the notifications coming through and not feel like you're constantly pulling your phone out and looking at your phone.
And it's Android only?
No, iPhone as well, but for all intents and purposes, from what I've read, it might as well be Android only, because I think it's a lot more limited on iOS, as as you'd expect.
Yeah, I'm an iPhone user, so I'd probably want like all the Apple functionality. So I'll probably pay like 5 times the price come the end of the year for the equivalent device.
The thing is, it's not an e-paper screen, so the same as a Kindle. So the new ones that are coming out, like the Samsung one, I think, and the Sony one, that's the second iteration that's coming out, the functionality is better, and I think they might even be touchscreen as well. But I've got a phone. I've got all of that functionality on my phone. This is just more for, sort of quick checking of notifications. Although people have done, as you'd imagine, people have done all kinds of crazy stuff where, they press a button on their watch and the garage door opens or whatever.
Yes.
But oh yeah, there's a lot of Raspberry Pi as well. But we can talk about that another time. But
Did you just sit around and spend money on the internet all day?
What do you do, Steve?
Buys a load of Steam games and never plays them.
I sell a lot of stuff.
Well, the Raspberry Pi is like 20 quid, so
That's true.
and this was the watch was a bit more spontaneous, but I haven't bought myself a watch I've had my watch that I had before for the better part of 5 years. And why am I justifying myself to you?
we're just talking.
I like it. It's
Yeah.
good.
Is it waterproof?
Yeah, it is. I don't know to what extent, but it is. Yeah, it's
Can
more.
you only
than-
get them from America then?
I got it. I just looked through their website. I think it gets shipped over probably from Asia somewhere. Yeah. It is a niche thing, but if you think that's the kind of thing that you might want for yourself, then it does.
Could
the
you make
job
your
really
phone
well.
ring
What do you mean?
by pressing a button
Yeah, you can
on
do-
your watch?
yeah.
Make your phone ring.
Get out of a bad date.
Yeah.
No, but there's a couple of things
Good
I've
idea.
seen people do. Like someone was saying, they've set it up so you press a button on your watch and it starts your phone recording audio. And someone else has said that they've used it to control their camera. So
this
yeah,
all
it's
sounds a bit dodgy now.
Yeah, I know. Like I said, what I use it for is fairly straightforward. The watch face has got the time in words. That's like the Pebble kind of thing that it sort of says. At the moment, it says 10:15. Kind of all written out. At the bottom, it's
Like a child's watch.
As long as it's not Roman numerals, then I'll be
Flick
fine.
but you can do
all
whatever you
I's
want
and
with that.
V's.
You can have lots of different watch faces, and I've got the date, and I've got my next calendar appointment, and so it's all fairly kind of straightforward stuff.
If it's
that I've
open,
got.
can people kind of like design their own graphics for like the watch faces and that kind of thing?
Yeah, so I saw one the other day that was Walter White off Breaking Bad's face, really done really badly in kind of black and white sort of pixel.
Brilliant.
But I actually designed this myself. There's an app called Pebble Canvas, I think, that just lets you, on a little screen, lets you move the elements around and then sends that to your watch. Because there's loads of different watch faces for it.
I've got Ponzi watches. I'm not sure I could make room in my arsenal for a Pebble.
£7 my watch costs.
Nice.
A whole 7?
£7.
Well, you could spend $150
Where
instead.
do you get a £7 watch from?
Look, I bet every single one of you has things that you spend a disproportionate amount of money on that's quite hard to justify in public. I hate you.
Headphones for me, actually.
Consoles.
Yeah, the Wii U. Both you and Mark, Steve.
I didn't pay any actual money for my Wii U, so I'm fine.
3DS?
Yeah, but that's not overpriced. That's fine.
Okay.
The original was overpriced.
What did you
God,
get,
I
Steve?
bought a PSP Go.
Well, there we go then.
I had one for about a day. Guess what? I sold it.
Sold it. Buying a 2DS and justifying it will be very hard.
Yeah. I almost actually whacked in a pre-order for an Xbox One.
Ooh.
I was seriously tempted for a couple of days. Well, I'd said that I would only go with one console for the next gen. And then as soon as they kind of said FIFA would come free,
That
I kind
had
of thought,
you sold,
well,
did it?
Oh, you were sold
Well,
on FIFA?
But you could just buy FIFA
Well,
on the PS3.
God, yeah, I know, but that would cost me. Yeah, I suppose.
but-
Yeah,
Come
yeah, but
to the dark side.
yeah, that's the thing. I do really kind of I end up wanting to get all the consoles and that kind of thing, but it just seemed like, oh well, that's not such a bad. It doesn't make me hate Connect as much to look at it as that £80 tax. But then as soon as I was just about to pre-order, they started saying, "Oh no, day one editions will be the only ones that come with FIFA." And we've all, we've sold out of them, but now you will be able to get consoles on day one, probably, but they'll come with Forza. And so I just,
No.
you're messing me about now.
I'd rather have Forza, to be honest.
Yeah.
I do.
See, I'm not.
I love football, but I hate football games. Can't stand them.
See, I do, but I buy a FIFA like once every 2 to 3 years. It's literally like once they've shut off any of all the servers and that kind of thing, and like the transfers just look completely so outdated. that you
Takes
just think,
20 minutes
he's
to find an
retired,
opponent
yeah,
online.
He's retired, yeah, all that kind of thing.
Fellas, I think it's a good time to tap out. I have, of course, been Steve Hill. It's been a massive pleasure having you all. If you enjoyed this month's podcast, please go onto iTunes, give us a 12 thumbs up rating, or whatever it is they do. Guys, thank you so much. Massive thanks to Mark.
Cheers, Steve.
Massive thanks to Leon.
Come join us on the forums.
Huge thanks to Steve.
Thank you.
And a fist bump to my man Ben.
Cheers, Steve.
And we will catch you all next month.
I didn't do Roman at school.